Order at 19:02 with flag salute. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, are there any amendments or adjustments to the agenda? All right, hearing none, we'll approve the agenda and we'll move on to our minutes for last month.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I have not had a chance to read them.
Okay, so let's go ahead and jump, we'll take 3 minutes. Let's jump in and read.
Oh, baby. There's a lot. We're good? Great.
We're good.
Any motion on approving the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right, got motions to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Ryan seconds. Discussion. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Those? Okay,
Shall we do roll call again?
I'm gonna roll call on the other ones for the, since we're on discussion on that one, and we'll take the time on the other one. So let's get to district recognition. So first up is our brick and mortar.
Thanks. Thanks, Madam Chair. I do believe we have a valedictorian and salutatorian here with us tonight. Dawson Clendenin, can you stand? And also, do we have Tiffany Lyle here?
I don't see her.
Okay, don't see her. So Dawson, why don't you go ahead and have a seat? I think it's quite the honor to have earned that spot. Tell us about your experience. Wow.
Do you have a speech prepared for us this evening?
I have no speech
No
prepared.
speech?
I'm in so much
Oh,
trouble.
man. Oh, man.
I was told I didn't have to give a speech.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we're just giving you a hard
I didn't
time.
know we were giving you a hard time tonight. I would have kept going. but-
Yeah, yeah, we're just teasing you, but we just want to say we're proud of you. I mean,
Thank
that's
you.
Quite the accomplishment.
Thank you, guys.
So, thank you for your dedication and your influence on other students, and it's not easy to achieve the spot of valedictorian, so, excellent job. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
All right, and then next up, we'll have learn at home recognition.
Do we have either Tim France and or Heather? There's, okay. Tim, we
Yes.
can't hear you yet.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you now. Is Heather there too?
Yep, Heather is also here. She'll be hopefully unmuting here in a second.
Okay.
I usually do the staff member and she gets to do our students. And so
Okay.
for our Learn at Home staff, we kind of have two different pieces. One is our recognition of Jill Tagula, who is actually our first teacher for our Learn at Home program. She was the original teacher for the program. And she's been the one to see it grow from 30 students to at times all the way up to 570 students. And so she's seen us through all of these changes and growths and all of that. And so is really fitting that we actually recognize her. And then she is also then has selected to depart, but she definitely deserves recognition for all that she's done for our program and our school. And so we'd like to take time to recognize her personally. On the other part this is Teacher Appreciation Week. And just a few minutes ago, I sent everybody our appreciation cards. And so if you do get time to look at that, we won't go through all of them because there's over 130 plus in there. But Ms. Shunk had the brilliant idea to reach out to families to ask for positive words of appreciation to our staff. And so instead of giving staff something like coffee, we actually filled their hearts and souls with positive words of appreciation. And as an educator, this is usually gets right to the heart of why you're doing this. And so we like to have everybody get a chance to read this. It really does uplift your mood and spirits reading all these great words of appreciation to our students and staff. And I think it's very well done. So
Tim,
thank you, Heather, and all of our staff.
Tim, I think it's important that we always emphasize how much of a geographical breadth Learn at Home staff live in. So where's Jill from?
Jill she was in Walport and then she relocated clear across the country and was actually on the East Coast and then moved a little bit towards down into Vermont. And so she is over in the New England area, New England states. So
Cool. So Jill, thank you very much for what you've done for us. And also, Tim, I understand that you got a little flack from your teachers this week because we had donuts here in the staff room and they were asking for donuts online.
They did. And we actually had one of our staff members was awesome. And he said, hey, I'm giving everybody a virtual donut. Eat it as all you want because it doesn't have any calories with it. So everybody had a good kick out of that. And it was definitely a good lighthearted moment that everybody got to share a little good humor out of.
Yeah, so I just want to emphasize what Tim is saying about appreciating our teachers, and there's a lot of festivities also this week here in the brick and mortar, so we appreciate everyone. Heather,
Hi, everyone. Yeah, we've had a wonderful, wonderful week here at Learn at Home Oregon, and I'm going to very quickly share our Students of the Month for last month because I have puppies in background that may explode and barks at any second. So we have for kindergarten, we have the entire class. We have for Miss Waverick's class. For Miss Parsons' class, we have Abdullah Rushdan. For first grade, Miss Bellinger recognized Mateo Michi and Brenton Michi. For first grade, Miss Taglia recognized the whole class. For second grade, the whole class. For third grade, Mr. Setterlin recognized the whole class. For fourth grade, Mrs. Naylor recognized the whole class. For fifth grade, Miss Bauer recognized Yeshi Everest. And for sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, our middle school teachers recognized the entire class. And it was an excellent month recognizing our character trait of intelligence. So it was fantastic to see. Thanks.
thank you, Heather. Moving on with sixth grade outdoor school report by Sarah Harris and Skip Lynch. Are you guys online? I see Sarah there.
I'm here.
Hi, Sarah. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. We heard lots of great things, great reports about the outdoor school experience. Would you mind sharing a little bit?
Oh, I'd love to. I honestly wish we were still there. The ALSI kids, and I was told even in my interview that this was the best group of kids, but the ALSI kids represented themselves, the school, and the community so well. There was not one time I was worried about any of them after the first day of walking around and checking on each group during the field studies, watching them just participate and take it all in. I never had to worry if I weren't there monitoring every second. So they did really, really well. Even ODFW commented on what a great job they did after their wilderness night, which I was calling it the ultimate fort, but they started calling it a homeless camp. So I don't know, sorry. But even after that, ODFW said that they had never had a group of students who cleaned up so well and so quickly after the wilderness night. So other than them doing so great, what I've seen since then, just their confidence has really grown. I've heard kids who didn't usually talk to one another in class, and even though they've been together for years, they've made friends, like real actual friendships with some of the other students in class. They're speaking up for themselves a little bit more. I think I had one student who was really scared to even go to camp. And it was because she didn't want to make any new friends. She had enough friends. And I did a reflection form at the end. When we got back that Monday, I did a reflection, and she said that she would want to go back because she enjoyed making new friends. So they've made friends. 10 out of the 17 sixth graders said that they would go again. And I had some kids show interest or talk about being interested in being a counselor when they get into high school. The camp itself was super organized. Jen, the Western Outdoor Experience, who put it together, did an amazing job. It was super organized. There was, other than the first day, I think all of us at camp really want to just go home that evening. A lot of us were in tears, but including myself. I text Joe, I need to leave now. But after that first night of being tired and cold, the next morning, it just changed it all. And it was because of the people who put it together. there wasn't any downtime. We had very little cabin time. We were constantly going. My personal experience, because I will be completely honest, I said this even in my first meeting with the outdoor camp people, that I had no desire whatsoever to camp with 6th graders. I came home early. Skip and I, we decided to tag team it, and because he was interested in doing it. When I came home that third Wednesday evening, I think, I would have rather been at camp. Like I was missing the kids, I was missing the songs and just watching them together. They were completely out of their comfort zone because we're such a small community, small school. But it was super great. So I had a great time, and I'd be interested. I saw my name at the later end of the agenda. So, but in the future, if there was ever need for help, either fundraising or helping at the camp, I'd be absolutely 100% interested in doing it. I have a strong desire to camp with 6th graders.
Sarah, what do you think was the most favorite activity of the kids?
Oh, there were so many. I think dissecting the fish. We dissected trout, and they were alive before they came in to the room. So some of them were like, some of the fish were flopping around on the table. So that was making us laugh. They loved that. They did archery. We went fishing. We had a couple of kids catch one more than 2 fish. So, and that was fun for me because I haven't been fishing since I moved to Oregon 6 years ago. And I got to help teach kids learn how to cast. So that was a lot of fun. They loved their nature art. They did not like the pizza. And I am supposed to let Jen know. So.
Well, that's great, Sarah. We sure appreciate you going, and we know it was a sacrifice, but it sounds like it was a very valuable experience for you and the kids.
If I had that experience in 6th grade, I would have really wouldn't have hesitated in a second. And it was such an honor to be with this group of kids. And just a quick PS, our 6th graders did fantastic during the games over our prom week, spirit week. So I gotta give a little shout out to those kids.
Well, that's good. You're a true advocate, Sarah. Thank you very much for the report.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for all the reports. Let's move into the superintendent report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First is our bond update, and Mr. Chris Giggy is here to present that. And you should have a handout there. Actually, quite a few handouts. There's a May 2023 IMS report that I'm sure that Chris is going to be speaking from, correct?
Yep, I'll just touch on the highlights of it. Does everybody have the report? Great. And our budget update. Not a whole lot to tell you on the budget update. It's pretty much the same, other than we had a change order to add that line for the sewer for the future kitchen that was added in there. That's pretty much the only change. So what's going on? The electrical upgrades. If you've been out there to the road going down to the football field, you've seen a transformer vault that's been put in, and there's conduit run from the power pole to the vault, and from that vault out to where the panel room is going to go. So that's all been done. For the panel room, there's the underground utilities. If you look back there, that's been done, and they've graded so that they can get back and pour the pad. That's the next step for that panel room. They've been delayed on that because of some coordination issues, so they're off a couple of weeks. So the master schedule, I don't see it here.
It's actually in the hallway. On the
Okay, around the corner there. So we did get that, but now it's out of date. So we've asked for an updated master schedule. And we were hoping to have that for this meeting, but we'll get that posted when we get it. As far as the HVAC upgrades, they've been procuring equipment. They're supposed to start install at the end of this month. So we'll track that and see how they do. And then for the real interesting part of this right now, the vocational building, we had a great meeting with staff on Monday and our new architect, Marlene, who's a principal from Stoderstrom Architects in Portland. And if you look in your report, did you folks get a chance to see there's a preliminary concept that was included on the last page of our report. Shows a site plan. So the idea is still to place that building in the location that's out there where we had the excavation, but there's just a preliminary layout. And that was based on actually some conversations that Marlene had when she did an initial walkthrough. She met with David Crow and we talked with him about what he was looking for. So the space in this plan is actually kind of based on what they have now for the classroom and that shop space, plus adding some bathrooms and some other things that are required to make it a standalone building. So we reviewed that, made a ton of changes to it. Great staff input. We had members of the BOC and the board who were present or called into the meeting. So at this point, our next meeting, she's going to take all that, rework it, and come back the first Monday of June. And that'll be right here for anybody that wants to attend. We'll make sure we get that out in advance. So, and long-term on the VOC building, our plan is to get design completed by the end of this year and get it out for construction early next year. Stay on track to finish that construction next summer. And I think I mentioned it last month, but just a quick, one other thing on the electrical upgrade, that switch gear that was going to be next summer. They did confirm that they were able to find a vendor who can get it earlier. So it'll be here in January, February. That's the latest date we've been given. And so with that, the new HVAC upgrades and the electrical upgrades can all go online when that happens. So that's what we're waiting for.
exciting.
Yeah, that's good. It should cut, understand that should really help for the fuel costs for what we're planning on for the boilers and get those things offline, get some reliable heat in there. That's the highlights of the report. Any questions?
We were really excited about the redesign of the location. So and you're right, there really was excellent staff dialogue and input.
Yeah, we'll make sure that as the concepts get developed, that they get into these reports so that you folks will see them, the community gets to see that, and people will know about when those meetings in case somebody would like to come and participate.
Absolutely.
So I just had one quick question. I was
Please.
kind of reading down the budget summary and cost paid to date is up to 413,964. So is that including our new lady that has been hired?
The architect?
Yes.
Yeah, we're waiting on her proposal. So right now, the way she works is she comes in and has an initial meeting so that she can get her arms around it. We'll get a proposal from her for the initial part of design, the concepts and the schematic design. And then we'll work from there. But she's aware of our overall budget.
Okay.
Then she's working. She also knows that what we really want is to spend a lot less than the 1.8 million that we have remaining. We'd really like to do some other things. So we've had some good conversations with her offline. So no, that her fee is not in there yet,
Okay.
but we'll update that when we have it. That'll be in the committed costs.
So then that dollar amount is the bathrooms and I don't know what else has been paid for.
If you look at if you're looking at the construction cost
Mhm.
for the committed, is that what you're referring to, or
The
the
paid to
actual?
date, 413,960.
Paid to date under construction, there were two big pieces so far. One's the bathrooms,
Mhm.
and there also was a big chunk, about 110,000, that was for what work was done out there where the vocational building was going to be, because it got started early and all that excavation and rock and some underground utilities. So that's the bulk of what that cost is.
I just didn't know that that had been there yet. So thank you. I appreciate
You
that.
bet. Anything else?
Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, folks. Thank you.
Plan update.
Yep. Next on the superintendent reporter's RIF plan update, just to let you know that we're about 95% complete on the RIF process. There is some requests to bump from the people in the certified union, And so I'm gonna be working with the union representation to process those probably early next week. We needed to give them a full week to respond. Other than that, it's going as well as can be. Painful, but it's just something necessary that we had to do. Also, you're going to see later on in the discussion section and the action item section is our teacher negotiations results that we're proposing for the board to approve. We have union representation here tonight, and I'm sure we'll be dialoguing with them later on, but I'm very excited to bring that to the board for approval. Also, you'll see a report that the board had asked me at the last board meeting to check into, was in terms of, does the district pay for certifications for staff? And I had a long chat with OSBA legal counsel about this. And one of the questions was, gee, if the district is doing this for certain individuals, is that an ethical violation? And the answer is no. It's a standard operating procedure, and the district pays for lots of different certifications. Because it benefits the district. Now, some of those certifications can, the individuals can use to moonlight. And that's not an ethical violation. That's not a problem. So that report is in there, and for you to take a look at. Also, Mr. C left. I was going to have him do a graduation report.
Well, he just sent the email invitation because they needed to scooch out. So he sent the email invitation of inviting the board to graduation.
Okay.
His idea is to have the school board members, the superintendent, Mr. Rothenberg, all sitting up on stage.
So graduation is June 9th, Friday, starting at 7 p.m. out on the football field, much like we had it last year. And yes, we would love to have any and all the board members to be present. And as you can see, we've got a lot of things to celebrate with this upcoming graduation. Last I counted, I think there was 14 graduates. So that's really exciting. A couple other things, a little bit on a COVID update. Maybe you've seen the press release, maybe you haven't, but this was issued, the statement was issued yesterday from Oregon Department of Education. I'm going to go ahead and just read it. It says effective June 17th, the COVID-19 vaccination requirement for public and private school teachers, staff, and school volunteers will be lifted. This means that after June 16th, teachers, school staff, and volunteers in schools will no longer have to provide proof of vaccination or have a valid medical or religious exception on file to be in direct or indirect contact with students. Being up to date on COVID-19 vaccinations continues to offer significant protection against serious illness and hospitalization, quote unquote, from Oregon Department of Education. So that's nice to see them lifting that. Budget update. You'll hear a detailed budget report from Lorraine a little bit later. She's hard to miss tonight in her neon garb as part of Spirit Week. But I was very proud and thankful for the budget committee this week. After 3 meetings, they approved the budget to move on for board approval. And it was a very engaging process, and it was very good. So we appreciate all the time that our budget committee members spent on evaluating the budget. Next steps in the budget process, just so people know, is Friday, May 26th. We publish budget financial summary and notice of budget hearing. We hold a specific budget hearing Thursday, June 8th at the regularly scheduled board meeting. And that's to consider public testimony from the budget hearing, adopt the budget, levy taxes, and make appropriations for the 23-24 budget. So thank you everyone for your contributions to next year's budget. Let's see. As I mentioned, we just completed Spirit Week. It was a lot of fun. The kids got so excited during the staff student basketball games that, man, I could hardly stand it in the gym. My ears are still ringing, I think. So that was really, really neat to see. School spirit was pervasive, and the kids were having a blast. And I understand one of our teachers even got paid $1 for playing. Isn't that right? It was really cute. This last Monday and Tuesday, we had Krista Neroth in the building. She was here just meeting with staff. making some decision on hires. In fact, I'd like to announce that the new permanent executive board secretary is sitting right over there. It's Laura Nickel. And so congratulations to Laura. Let's see. And I do believe that's my report, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Financials. Hooray.
This won't take very long. I think we're all financed out, but anyway. So going from the start of it, it's just a little bit of update of the course. We're now brick and mortar is for enrollment purposes is over Learn at Home. So that is a good thing. And you can see that we're still at 3.75 interest rate, having in our LGIP about a 5.7 million. And our estimated ending fund balance is about 3.2, but that's with the 1.3 of that is in the unappropriated. So the further on you go, you actually, the more refined on my estimates and encumbrances I have done. So this, we only have May and June, and then some of salaries going back for July and August, going back into the old year, and some old bills that'll come in July and they'll be thrown back in the old year. So these are based on estimates, and just today I saw that we got a little more in the May surprise than I thought. So that'll be coming out next month. Good thing. And at the bottom of the page for expenditures, just on the over under budget, you can see that the 1.5 there of we're coming in at 1.5 under expenditures of what was budgeted. And really that's it's kind of thank you for all the help that the team has done to not spend so much to help us through the next 3 years. It's really what it has to do with. And going through, we have revenues, and then we have just a breakout on the forecast 5 reports of local sources. Property tax is growing like it should. Their interest earnings is way higher than it has been in the past, so that's a benefit to the district. Their interest earnings. And you can see on the next page of for expenditures, you can see by the graphs that we're slowly declining, but you can also see by numbers in which objects we have actually, you can see the decline in salaries and the benefits and the purchase services and the supplies. So. Okay. And that is about it. And then I just have a resolution that we'll go through, and it's to high school success was budgeted at about a 116,000 for this last year, and it actually is coming in at 158. So this 42,000 extra was unanticipated when that budget went through, and that's why this resolution needs to happen. So it will increase the spending authority for the high school success grant. And the only other thing is the ASB accounts. If you review those, we've cleaned up the transfer that won't happen ever again going into leadership. We cleaned up that transfer. So leadership is at a zero balance. So, but it's documented, that's been there. And any other questions?
Madam Chair, I think we missed something on our action items, was that resolution that she just mentioned.
Yeah, there's a few things that I've noticed that we're gonna need to add when we get to action items, like names for resignations and
Resolution 23-09 would be the action item.
They're up above, but they're not in the actions.
Oh, they are. Yeah, well, Okay.
we can add the resolution in our action items. We'll do a.
Yeah.
We'll go over that when we get there, so. I guess the only question I would have is, what is the continued with the ASB accounts, and that kind of caught everybody by surprise, including operations. What's the outlook moving forward to ensure we don't get to that negative space again? And that's probably to you, Mr. Cowger.
Yeah, the ASB expenditures go through the same process as any other kind of expenditure. So there is a requisition made, and then there's approval, and then we have to be monitoring those accounts to make sure they don't go into the negative. Sometimes you might have a temporary negative because you have to spend a little bit of money to set up a fundraiser, as an example. And that's fairly normal, but we don't like to go into the negative on those accounts.
Just like there's a plan in place. Thank you.
Yes, there is a plan in place.
Is this the time to answer any questions about bills or anything like that while we are here? Or
I haven't even looked at them yet.
oh, okay.
I don't think we have any questions at this time.
Okay.
But we can direct it to Mr. Gallagher to follow up with you on if there's anything there.
Okay.
No pressure.
To you, all the pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, thank you, Lorraine. Let's move into discussion items. Cash flow financial report. Is there something special in there that you'd like to discuss?
No,
Right,
not for
okay.
me, but unless there's something that the board wants to discuss, and Lorraine is sitting there to answer questions if needed.
There are no discussion happening, so I'm gonna go on to the Alsea Education Association's tentative agreement.
Yes, Madam Chair, you will see a summary memo from me. Trying to find it.
It's under superintendent's report.
Is it under superintendent's report? There we go. Negotiation summary for approval. So let me kind of just hit the highlights on this. We had a total of 10 negotiation sessions between Alsea Education Association and district representation. The negotiations were very collaborative and very positive. Both sides worked very well together, and we found a lot of common areas of agreement. And keep in mind, the negotiations were limited to Appendix 1, which is extra duty schedule, Appendix 2, salary schedule, and Article 12, compensation and professional development. You can see in the memo some of the highlights that I pulled out of the agreement. Like with athletic extra duty assignments, bargaining unit members have the first right of refusal to apply for those. We always encourage our teaching staff to be part of our extra duty assignments. License stipends have been updated, aligned for competitive compensation and comprehensive with current district needs. Job descriptions will be developed to clearly define those job expectations. In terms of salary schedule placement, no restrictions on years of experience, which is a huge recruitment factor, but there is a minimum of 135 days required to determine 1 year of employment, 1 year of credit. Tuition reimbursement, that's something the district expanded upon. They're setting aside the $25,000 in this agreement annually for tuition reimbursement. Tuition may be reimbursed up to, but not to exceed the cost. And initially, it's going to be reimbursed at the highest Oregon University system rate. Also, the agreed to agreement allows for professional growth units, and those are professional non-college credit experiences that could count towards salary advancement. So 30 hours of this kind of professional development equals 1 professional growth unit, and then 3 professional growth units equals 1 college credit. So that's one thing we tried to emphasize was the professional development of our staff. That's continued in that direction. Extra duty schedule of the salaries are based upon certified salary schedule B step 0 at defined percentages you will see in the packet. Also, the salary schedules, it's a 1-year agreement for 23-24 only, 3% COLA adjustment, up to $12.50 a month for health insurance benefits. That's no change. Steps awarded. And then we have added a in-district commitment bonus awards in 5-year increments. And so after 5 years, a staff member would have a bonus of $500, 10 years, 1,000, 15, 1,000, 20 years, 1,500, 25 years, 1,500, and 30 years is 2,000. So that kind of in a nutshell is the recommendation tonight. I hope you don't mind if I Yes, would you guys like to approach the table and?
Not at all.
Not at all? Okay. Do you have any comments?
No, you're doing just great, Sean. Carry
Okay,
on.
all right.
But would you mind coming up in case there's some discussion or questions? I think that might be helpful for.
Thank you.
Of course,
Thank you.
no worries.
She's not afraid of us.
No, actually quite the opposite. First, I'd like to say I'm very grateful to Ryan and Racine, Sean, Deb, and Lorraine. That was your whole team, right?
Yeah.
Very grateful for all of the work you guys put in. It was a lot of time. It was a lot more, I think, than we were expecting. I remember back in a day long ago when we thought we'd be done by March 1st, you know.
Yeah.
But there was just a lot of work to do and we were all really committed to doing it. It didn't stretch out because of contention, that's for sure. So I just want to say I'm really grateful to all of the board's team for your time and effort. Second, I'd like to say I'm very proud of all of us. I'm proud of my team members. I'm proud of Shelby Faherty for attending every meeting, taking diligent notes, delivering those notes to every union member in a shared drive so people could keep up if they wanted to, anytime they wanted to. I'm proud of David Frick for taking on the role of treasurer in the middle of the year and doing an excellent job, just doing sort of a similar thing as we are with the district, just sort of aligning all the finances that have been out of touch for a long time. Grateful to Jason Foltz, our OEA rep proud of him always for getting back in here with LC. He's been around for a long time and he has long wanted to be able to do that, a real negotiations round with the LC school board. And I'm proud of myself for continuing to learn and continuing to be the union president, even when it got a lot more difficult in the past 3 years with COVID especially. And I've learned a ton and I'm happy and excited to continue to do so, at least for another year. Was recently re-voted as president. And Dave is also, again, the treasurer, and we'll have some new officers in the fall. And the last thing I wanted to mention was we started with 3 sections of a collective bargaining agreement that pretty much needs to be entirely rewritten. And 3 sections is an excellent start, and we look forward to continuing.
Well, thank you, Catherine, to you and your team.
Thank you.
You guys were tremendous to work with.
Yes, it was good.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Just, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
staying in the hot seat first,
Yeah.
just since we have the TA agreements in front of us, are there any questions that, or any discussion that the board would like to have? And we do have those guests, so we can ask questions and engage.
I don't have.
All right, well, you get off super easy tonight. Mr. Frick totally should have joined you, but
He's back there. He can stay.
thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Good job.
Right. Next up, curriculum adoption. Ms. Greenfield, come on right back up.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. This time I have to have notes.
So let me make the introduction. Lori has been working very hard this year with not only her math adoption, but now with English language arts. As you'll see and hear, it's been what, 12 years since the last ELA adoption?
Maybe more.
Maybe more. It's been a long time overdue. And this is really the essence of what we do is we educate, and we have to make sure our teachers have proper tools and resources to educate with. So I'm very, very proud for what you're going to hear tonight and presented. And, Lori, I'd say it's all yours.
All right. Well, I'm very happy to be able to bring this forward. This is a unanimous recommendation from all of the teachers who teach English language arts for the same curriculum K-12, which is a huge gift for our students. Any of you who have kids in the school, grandkids in the school, relatives in the school, or have experienced it, you may have noticed that things don't always look the same from class to class and grade to grade. And that's a challenge for our students who are in any way a struggling learner, because they have to learn one way to learn in one class and then a whole new way to learn in another class. And learning how to learn takes a lot of your brain space. And if that's what the child is doing, they're not necessarily catching up with their peers if they're behind. So this creates some unity of experience that will help our struggling readers and learners, as well as allow our students who are successful to maybe go further than they would have if they were focusing on how to learn each year. We started this process actually last year with the elementary, and we looked at 3 curricula last year that we agreed were not the best fit for our district for a variety of reasons. And then we looked at several more this year in the K-5 adoption process and came down to 2 that seemed like just a really great fit. Either one would work. One had more interesting graphics, and one looked more modern. It was, it was a more modern look. And then the other one, even though it was about the same, a few of the teachers actually tried some of the lessons with the students and didn't find them as engaging as this other one, but they were willing to consider both. And that's almost a mirror experience that our secondary had in looking at their different programs. So it's K-12 consistently that the program, the SAVAS or SAVAS, whatever you want to call it, this new named curriculum publisher, it's either My View Literacy for K-5 or My Perspectives for the secondary. And they are very carefully tailored for each grade, offering the teachers the resources they need so that they can focus on teaching, on knowing their students, on getting feedback to their students sooner, considering how to differentiate learning. There's tons of tools. The online materials are extremely user-friendly, and there's an online component for all of the parents to have access to, which is lovely. And then there's workbooks, and I know workbooks not always something that people love, but the workbooks were extremely supportive and interesting, and would help any new teacher who's walking in to really have materials ready to go. So there's a memo that explains a little further, and I know that there's some stuff that Catherine's going to share, and then I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, this is actually some notes from the 4th grade teacher, Eleanor Jones, and she's been here for, I think this is her 3rd year. It's her 3rd year here. And she was part of the search for curriculum like we all were. And her notes were, since I've been at ALC, we have not had alignment in literacy on the K-5 end. Alignment is important because standards are organized such that skills broaden and deepen each year. Without continuity, some skills are inevitably not taken as deeply as they could be or are missed altogether. Alignment matters for educators so that when we set out to teach our grade level standards, our students have the necessary background knowledge to get started right away, rather than spending days and weeks, even weeks, backlogging information so that we can operate at grade level. This is better for students because they get to learn more content. I would definitely echo that exact thing happens on the secondary end. The second note that she wrote is continuity. Students and teachers both deserve continuity. This way, students are able to get used to content and styles of teaching. Providing this kind of structure for students allows them to grab onto information easier and creates opportunities to interact with skills and content throughout their time in elementary school. The continuity provided for educators by aligned curriculum makes it so that we can focus on teaching the content rather than creating content to teach with. Definitely would echo that in my experience as well. And the last thing is more time for teaching. Personally, while I do enjoy creating content for my students, I would also like to dedicate more time to data tracking and providing written feedback. For me, these are things that tend to fall lower on my list because I'm spending more time creating content to teach effectively with. And my personal add-on to that last one is that I could be spending my prep time instead of hand making worksheets and units. I could be planning field trips and reaching out to guest speakers and creating work groups and study groups for the kids to be in and redesigning the flow of the classroom so that it's more comfortable for them to learn in and doing all of the rest of the teaching that is very important as well. And it would just be a huge benefit. It's a big call to or a pull to go to another school because, well, at least maybe they would have curriculum, but now we do too. So that will be very good.
So this curriculum is off the state adopted list.
Correct.
So it's been approved by the state.
Mhm.
And I do believe we have some samples in the back room. Is that? where
Yeah,
it's at?
I brought a couple out just so you can see what they look like. That's a third grade set and a ninth grade set, but we have K-12 or in the back there. And I can have them someplace where the public can view
Yes.
them.
Yes.
So that can be determined.
So we can certainly get the word out.
Okay.
Cost, as you see, is a little over 100,000. We have the money in the SIA grant. And that's the purpose of that grant. And so we have the money to be able to purchase it by June 30th this year. And that would be available in the fall. And I've already talked to Krista, the incoming superintendent. She's going to be aggressively pursuing professional development to go along with this. So teachers have the tools and the resources to be able to implement this very effectively and efficiently. And yeah, I do agree with you, Catherine. I want you guys teaching, not creating the curriculum. And when you have a set curriculum that's state adopted, you know that it's hitting all of the bullet points, and it allows for consistency amongst the grade levels. So the students aren't getting and there's not those academic holes that can easily be created when you don't have a consistent curriculum all the way through. So this is very exciting.
Yes, thank you very much.
So your comments and the ones from the teacher were about like adoption of a curriculum. And I just wanted to know if there was more of like just a quick notes on like why the specific one was chosen over others. Give us a little bit of that.
Okay.
I don't need the whole in-depth of like every teacher's specific comments, but why one over the other?
It's so there were a few that were really rich, wonderful programs that would be really hard for a first-year teacher to teach. That meant that there was still a tremendous amount of teacher development that we looked at that were really interesting for the secondary, but the idea of, boy, if you're not an experienced teacher, these would be hard to teach. And that was the case for some of the ones we looked at last year, as well as what we did with the secondary this year. Then there were some that we looked at that were rehashes, where it was, okay, it's a new time for adoption. We're gonna put a new bow on it and call it good, and basically hand teachers almost the exact same thing with an updated website. And so those weren't thoughtful. This program is based for the elementary. They really focused on the science of reading. There's a ton of new research about how, or ongoing research about how kids learn to read. and the relationship between learning to read and write. And so the way the program is designed, there's a lot of written response, and I don't mean that they're constantly just, okay, we're going to read a story. Now you have to spend time writing. It's all about learning together. And it is, it's exciting to have that reading and writing piece, because we had a big hole in our writing development in our district. They would get to middle school and high school, and some years they would have great writing experiences, and other years they wouldn't. And so that was an important piece for us. The multi-tiered approach really felt like it fit our district better, with better resources to address a range of learners in each classroom. And that's what a lot of our teachers spend time doing, is how do I reach this kid? How do I help this kid expand? It's very hard to do all of that and there's still this isn't going to be the panacea that makes it so the teachers don't have to think. There's still a lot of work for the teachers to do to interpret this and make their expert decisions on how to use it. But I do feel like it gives our teachers a solid foundation, and the teachers were excited about it. They felt like it looked like a good fit for our students, for our community, that it would be useful for them. And the online materials were just so user-friendly, so much easier to work with. I taught in the dark ages when I still used the overhead projector. I even know how to load film, so I'm that old. But this program was rich enough and interesting enough that it made me excited about wanting to go back into the classroom. I'm not, but it was really inspiring, I think.
David, you had a comment?
So-
Sped?
Yeah, Lori sent me the link and I logged in, and I tend to look at curriculum through the lens of access for exceptional learners, exceptionalities. You have the best curriculum in the world, but if kids can't access it, then it's not usable. So I felt pretty good about it, in terms of meeting the needs of kids being able to actually access what's there in multiple ways, based on different learning styles and needing to access it in different ways. So I thought it was pretty strong, actually, from my view, for sure.
That actually answers what was going to be my next question, was about the flexibility, because every class that comes in is not necessarily the same as far as,
Right.
your
That's the
new
one
class
school
that comes
I
in is
do,
not the
it's
same as the one
yeah.
going out. If it's flexible enough that you can, when you have some kids that are maybe not at the same level as the other, second graders, are a little bit behind or a little bit ahead, it's flexible enough. It sounds like it is.
Yes, I'm sorry if I
Yeah,
wasn't
Justin.
clear about that.
You were, it was
Yeah.
gonna be my next question, but you already addressed it.
Yeah.
And
One of
s-
mine too. So
And
thank you
so
for that.
we have an RTI or a MTSS setup that addresses our different levels of learners, that it is growing in our district. And this program will make it easier for us to address those differences each year, even through high school, which is exciting.
So can I ask a question on access? So thank you for bringing that up, because I do have a quick question on that. So when we adopted our math curriculum, there was an online platform for this also. I'm looking at, and I'm thinking in my brain, like the K through 12 level. Is this all an online process where we're expecting kids to utilize this, or is it a combination? And then, so it's a combination, as I'm seeing head nod, so I see, okay, it's a
And
combination.
that's what I do with what I make up. It's a combination of stuff they do online and stuff they do on paper.
But secondary is a little different than primary on
Oh, I don't know about
that
what they.
side of
So when
things.
thank you for that question. So when I say the online materials for the teacher,
Okay,
and the way they look at it is every lesson is a shared experience. There's decodable readers, there's workbooks, there's anthologies. And
Keep going. You're on a roll,
You're
Laura.
doing fine.
I thought you were-
You've got supporters in the back, I think.
Yes, you do.
They don't actually call it, I can't remember the term that they use for the K-5 program, but it's not, the lesson is there's a lot that can be projected, and it includes videos and graphic organizers, prompts, stories that can be read online with the whole class on the projected. And so the experience for the teacher of generating that, because our teachers generate a ton of content that they project, it's there for them. Now and the other thing is all of this stuff is either in PDF form or available to be altered. So if this class can't access it and can't do this much in one day, the teacher can only show that much and make it an attractive thing that is projected. So, or for worksheets, all of that is so the online component for teachers is very useful. And then for students, I looked at how the secondary view it, and it's really clean. It's there's the intro to the unit, then they can click on, well, this is whole class learning. Oh, and I can click on what is small group learning, what is independent learning, what is my performance task that I have to do at the end of this unit to show that I have mastered the skills or I understand the concepts. And then at the very end, there's a unit reflection. So that's how the secondary first page of a unit looks. So I don't know, I'm pretty excited, I guess you can tell.
Hannah, did you have anything to add?
When we were talking about it, we looked mostly at the kindergarten, so then we could see if it helps build, because kindergarten is where you actually start learning to read. And for the most part, we thought it was pretty good, better than what we have now. And a lot of the stuff you can print out and send home with the kids, which is nice. You don't have to be like, here's a book, please bring it back. It's a paper one, so it doesn't matter if they lose it.
So for those of you online that, just so I can I'm gonna try to capture that. I won't be able to do it perfectly like you did. But some of these curriculum allow for the parents' engagement also, without the holy responsibility that it come back, there are bits and pieces that can come there, and then really building a foundation for our students in the district. Started at that kindergarten level and then continuing through to secondary also. So did I capture that?
I have just one more question about when you were surveying everybody about which ones they like, the teachers. Were there any outliers? Like, did anybody at all like hate this one?
No,
There's like a
I mean,
unanimous
that's,
buy-in.
this is literally, everyone's in agreement.
That's
Is
very
that,
important.
yeah,
Which is huge.
yeah,
That doesn't.
Yeah,
often
everybody
occur.
agrees.
yes, yes.
Very helpful.
It may be partly that I slogged the poor elementary through this for 2 years, but
It's not a case of like anything's better than nothing.
no, because there's a lot to choose from. There were a lot of materials to consider that were off of the state adopted list.
I do have one more question. And I don't want to take away from what this brings to the teachers and the curriculum, what it brings to the students. I just want to talk about the competitiveness of the pricing. I do fully understand that this price tag comes with K through 12. So it's not split. It's an entire curriculum for the whole school system. Is this a competitive price that we're seeing amongst the other the learnings that the team enjoyed? Was that a Was it even a consideration when you guys look at curriculum? I don't know how that goes for that.
Yes. And this price includes a 6-year adoption, so workbooks for 6 years. It also includes, we may mess around with the actual components of the professional development, but it will be about that price. So this is professional development. So it's, this is the workbooks and the online subscription for the 6 years.
Also, keep in mind that when the state has an adopted curriculum list, they vet the pricing at the state
Yes.
level. And so there's a competitive packaging there also.
And so we'll be getting this through, I'm sure, through Northwest Textbook
Yes.
Depository, so they can't, gouge us because we're choosing their materials, but we're buying it through Northwest Textbook.
So
Yes.
just a quick question on the, these workbooks for 6 years. On here it says that you get 25, is that 25 for each grade every year for 6 years comes with? So if you had a class of 30 kids, you needed 5 more, is it a reasonable price? Or can it-
That I would love for us to have that problem. I really think that we're gonna have some extras should we have like a large class, a small, big-
extras.
Yeah, if you're using for the 6 years.
Yeah.
Should have some. Okay.
I don't know if we have any projected classes of 30.
No,
for
I'm
next year.
thinking of, you never know.
Yeah.
There's, would be nice, never know.
I taught here when there were classes of 32. I had 32 seventh graders.
So the board can approve this tonight, or if the board would choose to allow more of a public vetting of this, we could set up curriculum in the conference room. We could get the word out through Sarah, and they could come and take a look if they really want to. The latest that I would recommend you approve this would be at the June meeting, because we need to make the order and place the order and spend the dollars by the end of June.
May I say something?
Yes.
If we can get the materials to the teachers ahead of time, and if we can get them there, if we can get this so that they have their license, then there's some free online training that they can do during this school year to kind of start looking at it and to have the materials over the summer. It's just, talk about a pressure release. To come back to school and not have the materials until maybe mid-August might be, that's just, my heart goes out to the teachers because it's a big lift to take on new curriculum.
How long upon ordering does it usually take for the curriculum to get to the district?
So that will be a conversation with Northwest Textbook. In the olden days, before COVID and before there were supply chain things and whatever, it was usually pretty quick. I don't know. I haven't asked about this specific curriculum, and I can get that information to Sean next week.
Yeah, that's a good point. We don't know.
I'm prepared to take the advice of our professional educators, but I do think the community does have an interest in seeing it before we make a decision.
We can talk about that when we get to the action item if we want to discuss how I want to approve things but I would agree with you. We need to kind of talk through that, what that looks like. Other questions about the curriculum? Thank you for the hard work and the research and going through it and presenting it.
Well, I want to thank the teachers for the time that they took with extra meetings after school and giving their attention and thought for this, and to teach model lessons and to really care.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Next, board policies KGBB, KGC-KBK, and IGAI.
You said that pretty quickly.
I'm getting good at these
mouthful.
letters.
Yes, you are. Okay, let's start with board policy KGBB. We did some research on it and it says this policy currently does not exist for the Alsea School District. It's solely a recommended policy by OSBA if the board wants to be able to restrict a concealed carry licensee from carrying concealed weapons on school district property. Current state law allows for concealed carry license holders to carry a weapon on school district properties. This ability to carry on campus does not apply to district employees because there's policies that district employees can't do that. So the board has a decision in terms of options. They can, first option is they just simply don't adopt the policy, thus allowing concealed carry licensees to carry weapons on campus in accordance with state law. Or the board can choose to adopt a policy which would prohibit a concealed carry licensee from carrying a weapon on campus. So those, excuse me, the two decisions that the board has to make on that policy.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So if we were to not adopt this, is there another policy that addresses things like firearms of other people other than,
Mhm.
there's another one somewhere else that's already in place about like non-licensed holders?
Yes.
Just to be clear that everyone else is not allowed.
I think that's state law too.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have a policy in place too, just in case
I mean-
something happens.
I don't,
Search for it.
Cause I remember there was something about, if you locked in a car, like that, like historically, back in my day, kids came and there was a rifle
Sure.
in the pickup truck sometimes. And, that's where they stayed and it's just
Sure.
was what it was.
Yeah, can't do that
Now you
anymore.
probably need to have a policy addressing that.
It's JFCJ is entitled Weapons in the Schools. And it talks about students shall not bring, possess, conceal, or use a weapon on district property. And it defines like dangerous weapons, deadly weapons, firearms, destructive devices. Talks about knives.
That's one of the student policy.
Yeah, but it also talks about employees. Talks about discipline. Weapons under control of law enforcement personnel are permitted. Superintendent may authorize other persons to possess weapons for courses, like a hunter safety course or something like that that was on campus. So the district may post a notice at any site or premise off district grounds that at the time is being used exclusively for a school program or activity. The notice shall identify the district as a sponsor of the activity, school function, and possession of firearms or dangerous weapons in or on the site. Premises is prohibited under ORS 166.370. Also, in accordance with Federal Gun-Free School Zone Act, possession or discharge of a firearm in a school zone is prohibited. A school zone, as defined by federal law, means in or on school grounds or within 1,000 feet of school grounds. It says gun-free school zone signs will be posted in cooperation with city and or county officials as appropriate. Violations, unless otherwise accepted by law or this policy, shall be reported to the appropriate law enforcement agency. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, there's one.
Yeah,
It
that's
exists
correct.
for people other
Yes.
than the one that we're addressing tonight.
Yes,
there's a
yes.
secondary one that Laura actually spit out as KGB, you're right, and it does also state, it actually possess, it's about the public conduct on district property. So it's not just for students and employees, but it talks about may not bring, possess, or use a weapon as prohibited by state and federal law. We have a couple.
Yeah, so this policy, the KGBV, is the only, because the legislature passed the exception, I think, 2 sessions ago, that allows school districts to restrict a concealed weapons licensee holder from carrying their weapon on school grounds. And that's what this policy is about, is just if the board chooses to do that, then adopt the policy. If you choose to say just as is, with current state law.
And I have a question as to like Deb's statement last time about, is there any sort of insurance thing to do with this, or is that completely irrelevant?
The employee restrictions has everything to do with liability insurance.
Insurance prices don't fluctuate based on what policies you have in place. Like this.
No, this would not affect insurance.
Thank
Okay,
KGC, GBK.
pull up my mouse work. Okay, KGC GBK. All right, this policy, according to OSBA Policy Services, still supports a tobacco-free campus, but does not ban for nicotine patches, gum, etc. as a way to break a tobacco habit. Vaping is not one of the approved anti-smoking activities, which is prohibited on campus for all staff, students, and community members. Hoping that answered your questions.
I thought it said vaping was allowed.
Well, they said that there was a legal,
Yeah, it's not specifically vaping, but there's a little device that looks kind of like you're vaping that I've seen used in like psychiatric hospitals mainly, where there's like no tobacco use in the hospital, but they have these little things that make people, it is an FDA approved nicotine thing and it looks like a little vape, but it's not.
Oh.
And I'm just, that was my main, it's not very common,
Yeah,
but I was concerned that someone could say, well, the policy says I can have this.
I don't know the answer to that one. I don't think Mr. Stuckey addressed that.
I would guess that nobody's come
Yeah.
across it.
Yeah. I
The
don't-
only reason I know is because I dispensed them in psychiatric hospital.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, it's an inhalant delivery system. That's what the title of the policy is. So,
Okay, so I guess
that's KGC. Let me get to what the. All right. Should have made this larger, but I did not. Hold on. Oh, yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
my goodness.
So it's a proposed adopted policy. Jeez. Okay. To be consistent with Oregon law, the use, distribution, or sale of tobacco products or inhalant delivery systems by staff and all others is prohibited on district premises in any building or facility on district grounds, including parking lots and any vehicle leased, rented, or chartered by the district, school, or public charter. And all districts, for the purposes of this policy, tobacco products is defined to include but not limited to any lighted or unlighted cigarette, cigar, pipe, biddy, clove, cigarette, and any other smoking product, spit tobacco, also known as smokeless, dip, chew, or snuff in any form. Is this the, sorry, I think I'm on the wrong, it's KGC GBK, right?
Yeah, KGC GBK.
This doesn't talk about anything that has to do with smoking cessation.
Well, there was just, I think at the end, it said this does not apply to FDA approved.
This does not include products that are USFDA approved for sale as tobacco cessation products for any other therapeutic purposes, if marketed and sold solely for the approved purpose. So, yeah. That's the part of it you're questioning is.
Right, I mean, it's probably nitpicking because we'll never see it. But it's just like, there is a thing out there that is FDA approved now, looks like a cigarette or a vape pen.
Hmm.
And I just don't want to see someone who's trying to quit smoking using one of those and a kid sees it, this is okay. And again, this is kind of getting off in the weeds because it's not a common thing. And I feel like you can probably tell someone to please stop using that, and they probably would.
Mhm.
So I might be just wasting our time.
It's not wasting time at all. No,
No.
it's a good discussion.
Yeah. I guess I wasn't aware of it.
So really, the policy is about it's about prohibiting any use or distribution or sale of any sort of tobacco product or inhalant. It's just the exclusion. It does not include things for sale or approved for sale as tobacco cessation products or for any other therapeutic purpose if marketed and sold solely for the approved purpose.
Like a nicotine patch or gum.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I don't want to dissuade anybody from using a nicotine patch. It's helping them, but
Right.
those little things that bothered me to watch people using them.
Right.
Say that's an exception to this policy, but I think that you could probably just tell somebody, please stop doing that. Probably would.
Yeah, yeah. I can almost guarantee you if it looked like they were vaping, we would. I mean, we would say, please don't. Even if they tried to argue and say, well, this is FDA approved. No, just don't. Go across the street.
The next one is IGAI.
IGAI. So the question on IGAI was the paragraph that includes the reference to transgender, non-binary, intersex, two-spirit students. That paragraph was taken directly from an OAR under the menstrual dignity statute. This board policy is highly recommended by OSBA, but is not required. The board can include cisgender as one of the pronouns if they wish. The board can remove specific gender references and instead include an all-inclusive statement, but state laws still apply and must be followed. One of the attributes of board policy is communication. The recommended OSBA language reflects state law and communicates the nature of the law very accurately. The board chair has recommended replacement of the paragraph in question with the following. The district's health and sexuality education will provide information on menstrual health and be all-inclusive and affirming of all students and be accessible for students with disabilities. OSBA does not have a recommended AR for this policy. It would need to be developed in district with input from administration, staff, and parent groups. So the decisions for the board on this, if to consider, is approve the policies recommended by OSBA, approve the policy with board recommended changes, or just delete the policy altogether. It's not a required policy. It's really your guys' choice. So you feel about it?
And this is the policy where we talked about an AR to
Yeah.
talk through the curriculum and how that's
Yeah.
provided.
And like I said, it's going to take some time because we need to involve more people in the
Right.
process. But yes,
Yes.
that needs, yeah,
But that was the discussion we had last week.
yes, yes. Mhm. Yeah, I think that'd be a good AR to go with this.
So right now, the discussion is just about this one phrase.
Mhm.
Discussing. I personally feel like the one that you've made up here is completely inclusive and should be good enough. I mean, there's a,
I actually like it. That's my
it includes
personal
everything.
opinion. Yeah.
It says it's all inclusive, seems good enough to me. Is it good enough for a lawyer? So this is a
From,
administrative rule?
from, yeah, I think it's fine. Because this is coming from OSBA in terms of flexibility. Or did we send this statement to Rick Stuckey? What was his comment? It's fine.
And again, it doesn't, it included information, deleted policy, or changed verbiage
That one phrase.
does not allow you to not teach it.
Right.
Yeah, this is
Still-
about that
State.
one
That-
phrase.
that's
Or-
there.
still- Yeah, that's still a requirement.
Right.
It's how we address, really, in my opinion,
All.
Inclusion.
everybody, the inclusion of people.
Not breaking it all
Yeah.
out by.
Right.
Then you do risk leaving somebody out. If you like to start.
The policy
down.
actually leaves people
Right.
out, what
Right.
was proposed, actually, the state verbiage leaves people out, but.
Right.
So ours is more inclusive than. Ours would be, if that was what the board chose to adopt. this evening. Alright. And then KAA.
Yeah, this was overlooked in our reset process. I know I talked to OSBA about this. This is on. That's not the right one.
I think what we wanted to look at was,
Uh-oh.
it's an action items, hold on.
It was the overnight
Overnight trips, yes.
trips. Did you see
Um,
the wrong one, Laura?
IICA.
It's IICA. It's,
IICA.
if we look at the policy under action items, it's there.
Okay, so yeah, look at it under action items, IICA. And we overlooked this one little exclusion. And it's on the bottom paragraph, and it just simply says, all out-of-state and overnight travel must have prior board approval. And what I'm recommending is that we just strike the verbiage and overnight travel. So that way, if it's anything out of state, the board has to have the prior approval.
Mhm.
But if it's, if it's in-state and overnight, it becomes more of a operational type deal.
do you want to talk about, sorry, do you want to talk a little bit about the difference between
Oh.
out of state with
Yeah.
our insurance coverage and
Yes.
things like that, and how that impacts us and why
Yes.
we wouldn't be as impacted on an overnight trip?
Yeah. In-state, our insurance covers it 100%. If we go out of state, there's times that we may have to take out separate insurance policies just to cover a trip. Because it just depends on how our insurance is worded and the type of activities that the students will be participating in. And that's why you want out of state travel.
I think, yeah, Mr. Rothenberger's online this evening, but I know we as a board have ran into things where there have been trips that have come up.
Mhm.
With us meeting once a month and then being overnight, we are almost limiting the children from going on something, or
Mhm.
we are in violation of board policy with
Mhm.
the change in athletics and the state, things like that. That's
Yeah.
where the situations have come up, but I'll let you kind of speak to that.
Yeah, playoffs happen really quickly, and oftentimes, if a team makes the playoffs, it's just a couple days until they need to go to Pendleton or wherever the state playoffs are, and that would be an overnight trip. And trying to squeeze a board meeting in between, and it's very difficult. So that's where this flexibility of this particular policy would really be helpful. If it was just out of state, trips would be as part of board approval.
Discussion. Let's see, that takes us to the end of our discussion. Okay, I'll turn it over to you for resignations.
Yes, we have 3 resignations that are for the board to approve tonight. That's Sarah Harris. You heard from Sarah earlier, 6th grade teacher. Lori Greenfield from curriculum, you just heard from her. And Krista Severance, who is 1st grade or 2nd grade? 1st grade. 1st grade. And I apologize because we didn't get all 3 of those names in the action item, so we'll have to add Lori Greenfield and Krista Severance to the action item.
That should also be Christine.
So it's Christina Severance.
That corrected. Thank you.
We'll get that corrected. Thank you.
All right. Patron comments. Laura, do I have any patron comments? All right. Board comments. Okay, I'll just echo some of the recognition. Thank you to all of our teachers and our staff putting work in. Well, teachers is really what this week is about. It's sort of Teachers Week. And thank you to all of them for putting the time in. There's so many fun activities going on. It's getting hot. Kids are wiggly in their seats. I know I have an extra tired one every single day full of sweat and dirt because he's having so much fun. So just thank you for all the energy and the effort writing out these last 6 weeks of the school year, because it gets long and hard, but we do appreciate you and thank you for everything you're doing for the students and their families. All right, so before we move into action items, I think we have a few adjustments we need to make on this. So
We need to add Lori Greenfield and
Yeah.
Christina Severance for resignations and action items.
I would make a motion to add Christina Severance and Lori Greenfield into the resignation section.
And you want me to say the other thing too? Or do you want to vote on
Sarah
that
Harris
first?
is already there.
Right.
I'm just adding them.
We have a resolution also. we need to add.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just putting them under the is there, I would make a motion to do that. Is there a
Okay.
second? All right. Discussion or concern? Okay. All in favor of adding the additional names under resignations under 12B? Aye. Any nays?
I said aye. Sorry.
And then we need to add the resolution 20 2309. So I would make a motion to add the resolution of 2309 to our action items.
H.
H, making it H, yes. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, let's move to payment of bills under action items. Is there a motion to approve payment of bills?
I just have one question.
So we have to motion first, and then we can open up for discussion and questions. So is there,
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
okay, there's a motion to approve the bills. Is there a second?
I second.
There's a second discussion. Deb?
So I kind of heard earlier that we're no longer allowed to discuss or question checks that are being wrote because I did not get board books in time this week to look at anything. And I think that if I have a question on a check or need clarification, no matter what the purpose is, it's should be allowed.
Right. Lori, can I ask you to come up here? Because I think I'm gonna need your help a little bit on this, but so you're not at all incorrect that you can ask questions on checks. The purpose of this payment of bills, however, is not to approve additional or single line items, but to approve the process of paying the bills. So that's why if my name was on there, I could actually still approve the payment of bills, even if the school was paying me back for something. Because we're, as a board, we are approving the process that has gone through to write these and pay them. If a board member has a question on a line item, so I will pick on a credit card purchase for Learn at Home postage. If I have a question on that or a question on why there's so many of those, that is not necessarily a question that I can talk about here on the operations process, because that becomes a criticism of the operations process. And I need to take that singularly to Mr. Gallagher and say, Mr. Gallagher, if I have a concern about how much postage we're paying, and then we need to have a conversation away from the table so that it's not a criticism of the school system or of who's doing that job.
Well, then we need to have this before we get here, walk in to the board meeting, because I can't approve
Okay,
checks without seeing them first.
so would you like to call a recess and we can have a discussion away from the table about this?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna recess us for 10 minutes, please. We are back in session at 20:49. So we have, sorry, there was a motion to approve and there was a second. We're in the discussion of bills at this time. Is there any discussion on the bills that needs to take place? All right. I'm hearing no discussion, so we'll go through a roll call vote. Ryan,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Christine is a yes. Deb?
Yep.
Soren?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. The next up is item 12B, resignations for Ms. Harris, Ms. Severance, and Ms. Greenfield.
I'll make a motion to accept those resignations.
Okay, there's a motion to accept the resignations. Is there a second?
Second.
Soren seconds. Any discussion? All right, no discussion. Brian,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Christine is a yes. Deb?
Yep.
Soren?
Yes.
AEA negotiations approval. Is there a motion to approve? Because I'm gonna have to say this correctly. Is there a motion to approve the 3 TA'd union sections?
Yeah, so it'd be appendix 1,
Appendix 1,
appendix 2,
appendix
and
2.
then article 12.
Okay, so appendix 1, appendix 2, and article 12. I will motion to approve the TAs for Appendix 1, Appendix 2, and Article 12.
I second.
Linda seconds. Is there any discussion?
Appendix 1 and Appendix 2 are the extra duty chart and salary proposal.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, no other discussion. We'll do a roll call vote. Ryan,
I abstain.
Linda,
Yes.
Christine is a yes. Deb,
Yes.
Soren,
Yes.
revision of policy for IICA field trips and special events. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to revise. Right? Is that the one? Revise the IICA field trip special events policy.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a
Do
second?
you want to revise or do you want to approve? It's up to you.
Okay,
Oh,
see,
we wanna
that's what I mean.
approve- Sorry, we want to approve the revision. Because the revision is what strikes out the overnight trip, so.
Yes.
So the
Approve the
motion is
re-
to approve the
revision.
revision
There
of
we
the
go.
IICA field trips and special events.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Ryan,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Christina's a yes. Deb,
Yes.
Soren,
Yes.
which then
Negates.
negates needing to
Mhm.
approve the high school district track meet overnight stay.
Correct.
So we will go ahead and strike that from the agenda. So I'm gonna ask this of the group, do you want to go through policies? The item E, do you want to go through that individually, or do you want to go through them in one fell swoop?
Well, I do not. I am against policy BPKGBB. So I
Wait, which
guess
one is that?
that is the concealed carry.
Okay, so do we want to separate them out into three policies and motion that way?
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
please.
so let's start with, is there a motion for KGBB? This is the concealed carry proposed policy.
So I could make a motion that we do not adopt this policy.
Okay, so there's a motion not to adopt this policy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
9 seconds. Is there any discussion?
I'm still, uncomfortable with, like, Oregon is one of only 20 states that issues a concealed carry license to pretty much anybody. As long as you haven't been charged with a felony, there's no measurement of or competency with the firearm. And I'm a little bit uncomfortable with just anybody getting a concealed carry license and bringing it into the school. I am sympathetic to, with law enforcement is a long ways away from here sometimes. And I'm totally sympathetic to the idea that, someone who knows what they're doing and has one and knows everybody is here with one, and that's great, but I'm uncomfortable that Oregon doesn't require people to know what they're doing yet. I'm torn on this one, honestly.
Is there other discussion? Okay, well, let's go for a vote. Ryan,
Yes.
Linda,
No.
Christina's a yes. Deb,
Yes.
Soren,
No.
motion passes 3-2. Next policy is policy KGC GBK. This is, oh, now I gotta look at it. Sorry,
I
guys.
always forget.
Tobacco free zone.
Thank you. The tobacco free zone policy. Is there a motion to consider?
I'll make a motion to accept this policy.
Okay, there's a motion to accept policy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion?
I brought up that whole issue of the little FDA approved things, and I really do, after a little discussion, I'm convinced that it's not gonna be an issue. Like, if someone gets to the point of saying it's policy that I can have this, that,
Yeah.
there's something wrong there.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
Any other discussion? All right, Ryan,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Christina's a yes. Deb?
Yep.
Soren?
Yes.
All right. And then policy IGAI.
So I'll make a motion to accept this policy with the board chair's recommendation replacement paragraph.
Okay, is there a second?
Also, go for it, sorry.
Soren seconds. Any discussion?
Mainly just to discuss, I think we discussed earlier, I do think that your
Includes all.
replacement is pretty inclusive. It's all inclusive and that is as good as or better than, singling things out, because then at some point you're gonna leave somebody out. So I think that's better.
My only discussion would be to put it down, Mr. Gallagher, as a item for the AR component of it.
Yes,
that
yeah,
Really of the continuing the progress
Yes.
of
mhm,
getting
yes,
that transparency out to
Yep,
families.
yep. Agreed.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, Ryan,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Christina's a yes. Deb?
Yep.
Soren?
Yes.
And then we can scratch policy KAKAA. That was, I'm correct, that was an absolute oversight. I'm getting that one in there.
It's an oversight.
Or oversight.
is the one that you had done Brookings on it.
Oh, yeah, scratch that one. Sorry,
Okay.
my bad. Laura, you're doing a good job. That was my bad.
Thank you. Okay, so then the final action item we have this evening is the adoption of the ELA curriculum.
I'll make a motion to adopt the ELA curriculum.
A second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Discussion.
I still, if it were just me, I would take the teacher's word for it, but I do think the community has an interest in seeing this before we approve it, but we do need to do it in a timely manner. Is there enough time to let the community see it? The question seems like it wasn't, nobody really knows for certain.
Well,
Well, and we kept saying that we were gonna show this to the communities, and
Yeah.
I think we need to do our due diligence to do that.
I agree.
Is it, so I have a question then. Is it possible to, I'm just trying to think, is there a way, like,
you could set aside in 2 weeks, a special board meeting just to approve it. That way it gives it 2 weeks for people to come take a look.
We could do it virtually, right?
You could do it virtually, yeah.
yeah, no, I'm trying to think of how do we get the curriculum in front of the teachers, but also allow or follow through with our commitment that we would allow.
Well, I think the teachers have
everybody-
had plenty,
Yeah, the
right?
community needs
Sorry, I
something.
meant ordering it to get it in front of them. in time,
Oh,
But also giving that time for the community. to
Community.
have-
Yeah, let me
Some-
think here.
Yeah,
in
how
terms
long-
of Calendar.
How long did it need to be out there? Then there's a way to receive feedback. And I
See,
don't want
without-
to just let them see it and not hear from them.
Yeah, without knowing how long it would take. Because the last day for staff is the 16th of June. I think we'd be cutting it close, but what if we had a virtual meeting the week of May 22nd, somewhere in there? That way it gives it at least a solid week to steep and have people come in. And then we could order it right after that, and I'm hoping that we would have the materials by the 16th.
So Brian, do you want to continue with your motion on the floor or would you like to
No,
rescind your
we want to
motion?
just rescind it, change it.
Okay, so is there a new motion on the floor?
You want to put that in your words?
So I would motion that we schedule a virtual board meeting to hear from the community about the ELA curriculum and
Possibly approve.
possibly approve the week of the 22nd. So I'm just looking at, does anybody have calendars? They want to look at dates really quick so we can add that to the motion?
How long do you want that to be open? A week?
Minimum of
Minimum of a week. If Sarah, I work with Sarah and we got the word out tomorrow, if people can come and view it all next week. And, we could have the curriculum in the back conference room there,
Is it possible that we could add a link to the website as well to,
of course.
so that the parents could also go out onto the website and look
Of
at
course.
that?
Mhm.
So they could see that?
Yep.
Is it everybody free even on Monday, the 22nd or the 23rd?
Yeah.
Their preference?
Nope.
Should we do the 22nd at 6 PM for a virtual?
Okay.
Okay.
We'd all be at home.
You always say 5. That's a bad
Do-
time
I
for
would,
me.
No,
that's why I said
6.
6.
I know.
Okay, so I will make a motion to, I'm gonna resend him what was originally on the floor. Sorry, we had some discussion there. So I will make a motion for a virtual board meeting for Monday, the 22nd at 6 p.m. for the review of ELA curriculum and possible adoption.
I'll second that.
And then would we hear from community feedback at that time, at that
Yes.
meeting?
I'd
Or just
like
gonna
it.
be-
I think we have patron
Mhm.
comments in there for
Yep.
them to provide
Yep.
feedback.
Yep.
All right.
I'm a little bit, it's probably just me, but, the wording is, it sounds almost like it's an open meeting, but you're saying patron comments.
Let's-
To agenda item only.
To agenda item only. Yeah, so with patron
'Cause we can.
comments to speak to the agenda, to the ELA curriculum agenda item.
Only.
Thank you for
Perfect.
adding that.
Yes,
addendum.
not a free for all.
All right. Other discussion? All right, Ryan,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Christina's a yes, Deb,
Yes.
Soren?
Yes.
We need to move into executive session. That includes open session. We will not need to come up for a vote, correct?
Correct.
Okay, then so we'll actually adjourn the meeting at the open session at 21:09 and move into executive session for ORS 1926602I and 1926608 at 21:03.
Key dates. Do you want to do that real quick?
Oh, key dates. Yes, please, let's do that. Alcy prom is tomorrow evening. Fireside chat on May 16th. May 29th is no school Memorial Day. Please keep in mind, we do have school that Friday. Board meeting on May 22nd and on June 8th. Graduation on June 9th and last day of school, June 15th.